come have fun with us, and don't forget to subscribe.
What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our review of Naruto Shippuden episode 303 to 320.
Welcome.
Anna,
Yes?
your first time watching Naruto.
Yes.
So your first time watching these fillers too.
Yes.
But also my first time watching these fillers because, while I have watched most of the show before, when we get to that part, I kind of skipped all these fillers. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. We're going to get into that in a second. But first, and I like to say that every time, fillers doesn't equal bad, you know.
Yeah.
Some fillers are good.
Yeah, we've had some good fillers
Yeah.
in this anime.
But the timing is often everything, like they say.
Yes.
And sometimes even a good fillers is hurt by a bad timing.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a second. We won't, talk about each and every episode, but we're gonna just have a general conversation about all these fillers before, of course, we come back to our regular reactions for future episodes. So Anna,
Yes.
303 to 320, 18, 19 fillers. Did you enjoy them?
Some of them, yes. Some of them were good. I feel like there was a mix of fillers that were more, flashbacks, what happened before, and fillers that were like just kind of like side missions that could be during the war.
During the war, yeah.
Yeah. So I like that alternation. I don't like that still some of the fillers contradict heavily
Things that, yeah.
have been established already. And then some of them just like completely ignore the rules that have been set in place. And I'm specifically thinking about how they're using telepathy as a chat room, an open chat room.
Open chat room
where
where
like,
everyone is
everyone
like...
can just like pop into everyone's mind and like
Yeah.
communicate like that. That's not how it works. And they've established that.
And even there was one episode where Naruto, Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji, they're all
Yeah.
facing seemingly the same opponent, right?
Right.
And then at some point in the episode, Kiba butts in their telepathic conversation.
Yeah.
Kiba, who wasn't included, right? And who has no one around him to, do
The
connection.
communication, yeah.
And just butts in and is like, hey, I'm fighting the same opponent too. And I'm like, how do you know what they're doing, first of all?
Exactly.
And then how did you get into the conversation? It was weird.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like it was not well done, that part at all.
As for me, I also will say that some of them I enjoyed more than others. Some were very interesting in the kind of characterization of the characters that I think I'm gonna want to get into a bit more details in a second. And one thing that I really appreciate is, we just got away from the power fillers, right? In our last filler review, which were those 5-6 episodes of like a completely different storyline. I prefer this. I prefer where we were now with trying to make it fit into the war.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things happening in this war. And I've said it again, sometimes it's interesting to just see what Omoi is doing, see what like Shino's doing, because they're not getting the spotlight.
They're not getting a lot of screen time, right?
Yeah.
I felt the same way about some characters that I've mentioned numerous times already. I would like to see more in the canon episodes.
For example, Neji gets his filler episodes here.
Exactly. But I mean, while I wish they were more developed in the canon episodes, I'm satisfied enough to see them here. I'm glad that they're... I think maybe I wasn't the only one. There must have been lots of people who were
working on the staff who were like, hey, let's put some more Shino into this.
Yeah.
I mentioned briefly that I also enjoy how this, works in terms of characterization and just making you think of characters in a different way. One of the fillers, which was a different type of filler, it was a movie tie-in, episode 311, Prologue to Rogue to Ninja, focuses on Naruto through a kind of regular day for Naruto, but then you realize how a regular day for Naruto is super lonely.
Yeah.
Right? And at first, it seems kind of funny, right? Has like all these special ramen and he wants to talk to someone about it, share it to someone about it, and it's like, oh, let me just make clones and we'll talk about it. And you think about it and you're like, wait.
He doesn't have anyone.
He doesn't have anyone to talk to.
And
that's so sad.
it's interesting because that's already after the point where, he started making friends with with the other kids in around him. But you realize that doesn't mean that he's
Not lonely.
not lonely anymore, because at the end of the day those kids go home and they have families.
Yeah, so
And he goes to his like small apartment and he's still alone.
yeah, and they show that in the episode, right? When they all go and hang out with him in his apartment, and then when they leave, he's like, oh, like this seems even like emptier now.
Right. Yeah. Like it's very well done in the sense that it completely makes sense within the story.
Yeah. And that episode was probably my favorite one of the fillers, and it made me very interested again for the movie Road to Ninja, which we're going to be watching.
Yeah.
That was a highlight for me. There were some other highlights, though. I really appreciated the Shino versus Torune one.
Oh yeah, that was a good.
It was a good
story.
one. We didn't get much from that character, right, in the canon, right? He was with Denzo and then got killed
Right.
for the Edo Tensei just show and tell that Kabuto was doing. But here in that episode, it made me like ask myself question about the world, right? And for that reason, I thought it was interesting. For example, we see Denzo going to Shino's dad and be like, "Hey, send Shino out to my group.
To
we
the
have
foundation.
yeah, we have people from everywhere. Send someone too." And it made me think like, oh yeah, I never thought about how does it get these kids?
Yeah, right. Because I think a lot of them that we saw at least were orphans,
I assume they were
But-
all orphans, but
but
they never like said that outright.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. What about you? Any episodes that you would say like were highlights?
I think overall I agree with you that prologue of Road to Ninja was probably the best one in this batch. I also really liked the one about Sasori.
Oh yeah. Oh, so which one? There are two about Sasori, and both I actually liked. There's the Fallen Castle 310, where we see, I guess, during the fight with Chio, he says, "Oh, I used this puppet to take over a nation," and we see that.
And then we see that happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
okay.
good. I was thinking about the other one though, the one that had like a lot of flashbacks.
Also, 319, the soul living inside the puppet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that one because it's interesting how like it combines, what happens currently in the war, also with a lot of flashbacks. I also really like that the flashbacks don't really contradict anything that we know about the character so far. I think that maybe it's easier with characters that are
gone.
not, well, they're gone, yes, but also we didn't get that much story about. I mean, there was a lot, but compared to the main characters like the kids from Konoha, we don't see them so much. So it's easier to like make up a story in the past without
Yeah.
messing up the storyline.
And with it feeling like it's additive, right? Oh,
Yeah.
we didn't see a lot of Sasori's childhood.
Yeah,
we saw
exactly.
one specific part of it, but
I like that also emphasizes a lot the relationship that he had with his grandmother.
yeah.
And I feel like seeing that, I was reminded of how regretful she was feeling at the end of her life, and it made sense. Like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, oh, of course
you
if you
would,
did
yeah.
that, of course you would regret it afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I think it was pretty good.
In terms of low point, I gotta say for me, the lowest point was all the Yota episodes. I mentioned the Yota thing.
Yes, especially
second
because
ago.
of how they just didn't respect the rules that had been established for how things
Yeah,
are.
it's not even that bothered me the most,
Okay,
right? Because
what is
that's
it?
common and fillers, right? So the Yota thing is episode 213 to like 315, and so that's just like 3 episodes, right? It's too long. It's like by the end of the first one, I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't care about this character, right? And each of them, the episodes were just going deeper into like what happened when they were kids and
yeah.
this flashback. And I guess that's the thing. I just didn't care about Hyota. And the
I
kids cared so much about Hyota. The music cared so much about Hyota. I didn't,
I feel like there were also things that weren't really explained and didn't really make sense.
How did you make him forget?
Exactly. Was that part of his power? Like how did that happen? You know? Also, in the end, they explained that he was reanimated, but if he had been reanimated, he wouldn't have died in the river. Because how does a corpse drown? You know, I don't know. Like,
But even then, if he was reanimated, why is he just like hanging around the village doing nothing?
right?
You know?
Exactly. I don't know. There's a lot of weird things about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? The lowest point would be.
Yeah, no, probably the same.
Yeah.
Probably the same, yes. I have to say, I also wasn't a great fan of the one with the 4-sound ninja.
Oh yeah.
Not because it was particularly bad for any reason. I've seen that already. I didn't care to see it again.
If it was one episode, it would have been good, but
Yeah,
it
that
dragged
too.
on for a bit
But
too long.
you know what I mean? Like I've seen that matchup before. Like
Yeah.
it didn't bring anything new.
But that's why I said if it was one episode, maybe,
Yeah.
because in that first episode, we see how much they grew, right? Because they
Right,
defeat them
yeah.
easily, and you're like, oh, look at that, they've grown so much. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
But then they just keep going. So yeah, that was our review of Naruto Shippuden fillers 303 to 320. And now before we leave them, I'm going to ask you, now that we're going back into the canon episodes, what are your expectations?
I feel like the fight is gonna keep the same pace. They're done fighting the 4 Kage. They're probably gonna move on to whatever, and by they I mean mostly Naruto. Probably gonna move on to the next battlefield or something like this. It's gonna be the next batch of opponents for him.
Yeah, lots of things left in suspense. We got Itachi saying, I got an idea to stop
Yeah, probably we'll see that soon enough too.
So yeah, a lot of things happening, and we will react to all of them as we keep watching Naruto Shippuden. If you guys want to be there for those reactions, we invite you to
subscribe to this channel. The button is down below.
Like this video if you did, comment in the comment section below, and have a nice day.